tonight's Board of Health meeting. A couple things on the agenda. We have to approve the minutes. We're waiting for a copy of those now. We're going to set down a date for another public hearing for another issue, and then we will commence with the public hearing regarding the flavor restrictions. Michelle, the director, will explain how that's going to work and how we speak and the time limits and what we need from you before you speak. And we ask everyone to be respectful of others. And the first item on the agenda is for us to approve the April 9th and April 30th minutes.
We don't have those yet.
That's okay. We can still vote.
I read them.
All right, we're looking for a motion to accept.
Did read them? Motion to accept.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The next issue is we need to set down a public hearing date for some new tattoo regulations regarding apprentices. Michelle, you want to speak to that a little bit, or?
I'm going to have Lisa speak to that.
Okay.
Yeah, so back in October, I met with one representative from each of the tattoo establishments in the city of Lynn so that we could be a working group to come up with new regulations so that we could implement an apprentice program here in Lynn. Right now, somebody comes in, if they provide the correct documentation, they're able to get a tattoo practitioner permit right off the bat. This will require, the apprenticeship program will require people to work under an already working tattoo practitioner prior to getting their own permit to practice on their own. It's definitely something that all the establishments are for. We also wanted to update the regulations to start to include microblading, which we're seeing a lot of right now, which is semi-permanent tattooing, but nonetheless it's breaking the skin and causing scarification. So this is just what I did is based on the public health director's recommendation. I took the Salem regs, the city of Salem's tattoo regulations, and we worked off of those regulations and kind of came up with some things that we thought made it more Lynn-oriented for the businesses and what we have going on here. I have a document just with the proposed changes to the Salem regs, and if you guys approve of that, I can come up with the whole draft regulation that we can have ready for the public hearing whenever we decide to do that.
Okay, great. So you're looking for a motion to accept something from Salem yet, or no?
Well, I guess we're looking to decide when we're going to have a public hearing.
Okay.
But you guys will need to decide before the public hearing what you want to put forth for regulations. What I've drafted is my recommendations for changes to the Salem Board of Health regulations to adopt those as Lynn's regulations.
Okay. So we'll have copies of those before the public hearing if we need it.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, yes.
Is that something that you'd rather go over during a meeting prior to putting down a public hearing? Or is it something you can just send to us when we can read?
I mean, I've known since November. I can send it to you, and if you guys want to discuss it further, that can be up to you. However you want to handle it is fine with me. I know the tattoo establishments are really eager to do this.
Yeah.
You know.
We can set down the public hearing for next month, right? Is that what you're looking for? And then look at the stuff in the meantime. That'll work. So
Yeah, we can.
that's what we do anyhow.
Yeah, I can get it all out to you. Yeah.
It sounds pretty favorable that the other establishment, or the establishments in the city are in favor of this. Probably be a quick public hearing. Do we want to do it on the 24th, the night that we have our next?
I think it's June 25th, if that's a Tuesday, June 25th.
Okay.
June 25th is the next meeting.
That's a Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, June 25th, 6:30.
Okay.
You guys
All right.
available?
Yeah.
Or at least one.
Yep.
Okay, good. John, that works for you? Okay, good. So we're going to set down, do you need a motion for that?
We need a motion, yes,
We're
please.
looking for a motion to establish June 25th, 2019 as the date to hold a public hearing regarding new tattoo regulations. Looking for a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second it. For a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimous. Okay, Michelle, how about if you lay down some ground rules and tell folks what we're doing, and we'll get the public hearing regarding the flavor restrictions underway.
So today is a public hearing regarding the flavor ban. I will open the hearing with all of those who wish to speak in favor. All those wishing to oppose, you'll have your chance at that time. There will be a 5-minute time limit. Once your time is up, I will ask you to please stop talking. Once you have spoken, you will not be allowed to speak again. Anybody, any questions, anything? I have a sign-in sheet. Your name, please make sure you sign in first.
And I have a second question.
Yes.
The draft that I have of the proposed regulations, including other changes beyond the flavor restriction.
No, to sign in when you speak.
Excuse me.
Apologize?
That's okay.
I'm looking at page 11, P and Q.
I'm sorry, Sam, what was the question?
The characterization is that this is a hearing about flavor restriction. I understand that. And on page, this is the draft that I have. It says draft regulations of the Board of Health. And on page 11 of that regulation, under paragraph P,
Yep.
it says sale of flavored tobacco products prohibited. But then in the next paragraph is Q, which is a cigar sales regulated, which is supposed to be a revisiting of the issue that I think was maybe in 2017, 2018, with respect to minimum flooring of pricing of the product number on cigars and cigarillos. So I just,
All those issues were addressed in the public advertisement that was in the item in accordance with the law. So the members of the public have seen that there was a summary that included the cigars and the flavored tobacco.
so it does, so it's
It wasn't
not,
probably identified in the item as summary in accordance with the law, so the public was
I'm not
identified
questioning
as topic
that. You're
eight.
saying, so that there are two topics to be addressed then.
Yes. Yes.
Flavor, pricing, packaging.
Flavor and,
Pricing, packaging. That's the cigar pricing, packaging. But P is the same as flavor.
right, because then it also says about the adult only stores, correct? Yep. All set? You, okay.
Are you all set with that answer? Are you?
I'm just dividing my 5 minutes in my head.
All right. I'd like to open the public hearing for all those wishing to speak in favor of the flavor restriction. I'd like to open the public hearing for all those who wish to speak in favor of the flavor restriction.
So in addition to signing, do we also state the name?
Yes, yeah.
If it's okay, Michelle, if everyone out there wouldn't mind, once you sign your sheet and you sign your name in before you speak, just tell us who you are and your address, please, so we know who we're dealing with.
Good evening.
Hi, good
My
evening.
name is Diane Knight, and I direct the Northeast Tobacco-Free Community Partnership. It's a Department of Public Health funded program that serves the city of Lynn, and it has for 20 years. My address is 1 Griffin Brook Drive in Methuen. That's where the office is. And I would like to share that I support the proposed changes to your current tobacco regulations, and that you'll be in good company with 147 cities and towns covering well over half of the state's population, 62.9%, that have restricted the sale of flavored tobacco products to adult-only establishments. We must do whatever we can to protect our young people from nicotine addiction, which is so, these products are so incredibly addictive. Adolescents and young adults are particularly vulnerable to the effects, and because of the way that nicotine changes the developing adolescent brain, people who start smoking as teens smoke more, become addicted more easily, and have a harder time quitting than people who start smoking or using nicotine products as adults. I applaud protecting our teens in whatever means we can from accessing sweet, cheap, and easy-to-get tobacco products. The tobacco industry uses these three main tactics in an effort to hook our kids. They use flavoring to attract young people, and currently these products with sweet flavors like grape, peach, mango, paradise, cotton candy, bubble gum are widely available at corner stores that youth frequent. Flavored tobacco products are the leading reason that youth use. Consequently, 1 in 5 high school age youth in Massachusetts report using e-cigarettes, and 41% have used them at least once. More high school youth in Massachusetts are now using e-cigarettes than all other tobacco products combined, and they are using them 9 times more often than adults. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the U.S. Surgeon General have stated that flavored tobacco products are considered to be starter products that aid in the establishment of smoking patterns that can lead to long-term addiction. We must protect our children from flavored tobacco products that can lead to the next generation of customers for the tobacco industry. Please protect our youth, and thank you for your commitment here in Lynn to the health and well-being of this community. And I also would like to, I do a lot of moving around in the city with different groups and community organizations, and I would like to present to you 31 letters in support of this flavor restriction.
These names down
No, what we'll do is,
at the end.
And that's
at the end of the meeting, we'll discuss.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so my name is Dana Altman. My address in Lynn is 50 High Street, and I'm in support of the flavor ban as well. So I'm the community coordinator of substance use prevention programs at Girls Inc. and manage a substance use prevention grant issued by the Department of Public Health called SAPSI. And it's throughout these roles that I've learned about the true target of the vaping industry, and that's youth, specifically youth of color. And vaping has been classified as an epidemic among young people, and this is largely in part by the 3 main tactics employed by big tobacco, so sweet, cheap, and easy access. A large majority of youth in Lynn are youth of color, and all of the youth in Lynn obviously live in an urban setting. And as a result, Lynn teens are exposed to countless retail stores in their community. So 74% of kids using e-cigarettes actually get their products from a retail store, and that makes Lynn youth especially vulnerable. Lynn teens are up against so much today, and the lies and temptation traps and accessibility of vape products are yet another challenge they are up against. And I'm guessing many of you don't have the privilege to work with youth from Lynn every day, but we actually have one here tonight. And as someone who does, rest assured, if you got to know some of the smart and talented teens in our community, you'd be protecting them too. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I am a part of the Solutions peer leader of the Girls Inc. in Lynn at 50 High Street, right up the hill. I go to Camp Academy Lynn Collegiate, I'm 16 years old and I'm a sophomore there. And KIPP is a pretty tight school, so you don't see a lot of people physically smoking or physically vaping in the bathrooms or in the school in general, as opposed to like a regular public school. So we are safe inside the school for the most part, but once you get outside of the doors and you get on the sidewalks, you can see a bunch of them like vaping, and you can also see them on social media, on Snapchat especially, posting about how they got their new pod, their new flavor, and how if they ran out, they can't wait to get their next hit. They seem to be addicted to it already. And big tobacco companies are already targeting us as youth and people of color, and that's why we need to stop it. Because vaping isn't just inhaling water vapor, as a lot of people think. It contains nicotine, and that's addicting, and it sets them on the path to smoking cigarettes, so that helps big tobacco companies get lifelong customers. Also, there are cancer-causing chemicals inside of the vapes, and a lot of people don't know that, especially teens. They just want the flavors, they just want the fact that it's super accessible and they can help them de-stress. So that's why I really want to get this flavor banned, because I want to protect my kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for allowing us a chance to talk about the vaping epidemic, as the Surgeon General of the United States has claimed that it's an epidemic in this country. And I'm asking you to support the ban. I work with young people at Girls Inc. as well, and I think it's terrible that we have made so much progress with cigarettes. We've been able to reduce the number of teens that are using that tobacco product, and now the tobacco companies have found a way to make tobacco cool again through the vaping products. And the sad thing is the teens do not know that they think it's healthier, they think it's safe, they don't understand that there's nicotine, that they can become addicted, especially if they start using younger, and there are cancer-causing chemicals in the vaping pods. And there's other chemicals that we don't know about yet because they're not regulated by the FDA, so there's a big unknown there, and we're putting our young people at risk, their health at risk. So I ask you to please support the ban.
Could I have your name?
Sure, I'm sorry, Lynn Public.
Thank you.
Ahmad, and I am the advisor of part of the solution program at Girls Inc. of Lynn, a program focused, so I oversee 6 high schoolers, and we focus on substance abuse, education, and prevention. And I support this flavor ban because as we know, tobacco and vaping industries target youth through making their products taste like fruit or candy to make them more appealing to youth. And for example, they also market their vape products to like youth. And this is a problem because vape products contain nicotine and cancer-causing chemicals, and it also makes youth more likely to start smoking traditional cigarettes, like through the use of vapes, because vapes have nicotine in them, which affect their brain and make them addicted to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor?
If I could just ask the board as a courtesy, as an agent of the board, to save me until the end so that if there's any questions or clarification, I can do that as well. Is there any issue with that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? With that being said, I close the hearing for those wishing to speak in favor. Is there anyone wishing, I'd like to open the hearing to those wishing to speak in opposition.
My name is Sam Vitale. My office is at 60 Andrew Street in Lynn. I'm an attorney, and I was here 2 years ago when some of the same arguments were made at that time, and the Board of Health made a wise decision and was selective in what they chose to enact or not enact. So with respect to the regulations, as I understand it from the director, that relate to minimum pricing or minimum quantities in terms of the cigar sales, I'm not really going to address that. We addressed that in, I think, spring maybe or the summer of 2017. I think the board got it right then. I think the board's done a lot that's right, and I think the people who work for the board have gotten it right. You get like a 95% compliance rate. I said then and I say now, the real solution is the one that's been adopted by the legislature, by all the cities and towns, which is to raise the legal age to what it is for alcohol. And it's another regulated industry. The people here are selling a product that adults can buy, just as those adults can buy alcohol. The question is, and I think this is where this requires some examination, it's where is there a nexus? Where is there scientific fact? Because I will tell you that I can't say yes or no to this argument that says flavored products are for young people. All I know is when I go to Dunkin' Donuts, they got more kinds of donuts. They got more kinds of coffee. Tonight on the evening news, Oreo's got 5 new brands coming out this summer. Latte, mint. They're selling Oreos to a vast array of people. People making movies. The Avengers. Haven't gone to see it. I must be one of the minority. When I was a kid, The Avengers was a comic strip, or a comic book. It has broad appeal. So what you're being asked to do is take an assumption. And if you look at the draft regulation, it cites studies which I would say are dated, all of them, given what's really happened in the industry. 2011, 2013, I think the latest one is 2014, this is 2019. So the latest study in here is 5 years old. What's happened in 5 years with respect to this industry? I recall maybe in the early 60s, late 70s, there was a book by a man named Vance Packard called The Hidden Persuaders. It was like a revolution at the time, because what he was talking about is the science of advertising. And it's the old sell the sizzle, don't sell the steak. And advertising everywhere, obviously, is aimed to sell products. But to say that the use of flavor is used to only attract young people defies common sense, defies reality, and really there is no scientific conclusive evidence that that is so. The one study I picked out of your draft regulation is the one that says data from the National Youth Survey indicates that more than 2/5 of U.S. middle and high school smokers report using flavored cigars or flavored cigarettes. I got as far as the 8th grade in math, and I mean, that tells me that 60% do not. So I'd say that the science is conflicting, it's dated, and there's an assumption that you're being asked to make, which is that there are adults who don't like flavored products. My second concern is that the definition of a flavored product, as you have it here, the way I read it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it means menthol, mint flavored. There are plenty of people who smoke, who are adults, who smoke menthol cigarettes. And so a question I had with respect to the broadness of this definition is whether it overreaches and causes an effect that wasn't really intended by the drafters of the regulation. What we're talking about is responsible use. And so whether it's people buying, and I'm old enough, and I'll end sort of with this story. I'm so old that when I wanted to get a vanilla Coke, I went to a drugstore that had a soda fountain, and they used to squirt the vanilla in, okay? Now, I see an ad campaign for orange vanilla Coke, and two trucks collide with oranges. Well, Coca-Cola is not marketing that product to youth. They're marketing, they had a product called Coke, then they had a product called Vanilla Coke, then they got another product called Vanilla Orange Coke. That's a flavor. And so what you need to think about is this approach that large industries use, that Vance Packard revealed 40, 50 years ago in The Hidden Persuaders, is to sell a product. But to determine that that product, because it has a flavor, is aimed at one segment only, isn't really what advertising is about. Coca-Cola wants to sell its products to everybody, all over the world. And they have a vast array of flavors. Mountain Dew, all these soft drinks have some combination. You can get Sprite, then you get lemon and lime. So think about what the underlying basis of this is, and whether there's scientific evidence that supports it, and whether there's data that's recent and current that underscores the fact that a segment of the market, if that segment of the market can't buy the product, whether it's flavored or not, that's the true way to deal with regulating a problem which the people I represent, who are storekeepers, shop owners, businessmen trying to make a living in Lynn, who sell to adults. I remember there was a gentleman here 2 years ago, lived on Union Street. Remember, he got up and he said, I can't afford $5 a cigar. I buy the little cigarillos because that's what I can afford. This is Lynn, Massachusetts. 140 cities may have done it, 140 towns, there's 351 in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But you're charged with responsibility to protect the people in Lynn, and you're doing a damn good job. But what you need to do is to find a real solution to a real problem. These people will join you in that. They want a real solution to a real problem. What they don't want is an unreal solution to an unreal problem. And so question this idea that targeting is done by use of flavor. If that's the case, then the folks at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks or my friends that making Oreo cookies are on the wrong path. But I would suggest to you that they're not, and I would hope that you take that into consideration when you consider this regulation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Adam Ponte. I'm an attorney at the law firm Fletcher Tilton located in Boston. I represent the Coalition for Responsible Retailing, which I shall refer to as a CRR. That is a coalition, an entity of local retail and convenience store owners like the ones you have here in Lynn. And I'm here tonight on behalf of those store owners to respectfully oppose the proposed tobacco control regulation that's being considered by this board. Before I get into my 3 specific points as to why we oppose the proposed ban, I want to first make it clear that I don't represent any tobacco companies. I represent convenience store owners, so I'm not here on behalf of Big Tobacco. Number 2, I want to focus on the stated purpose of this regulation. Nobody disagrees. Underage tobacco and nicotine use is an epidemic. I do not disagree with that. I'm not here to tell you that it's not a problem. My disagreement is with the method by which this board is considering to handle that problem. So what I want to talk about first is the FDA does sting operations in Lynn. In the last 3 years, I believe there were 484 sting operations where the FDA tries to cause a sale of a tobacco product to a minor. In Lynn, for the last 3 years, you have a 96% compliance rate. So what that means is your store owners are doing their job. And you do not see me in front of boards of health in other towns like Hopkinton, for example, that has a 60% compliance rate. Because those store owners don't deserve the privilege to sell these age-restricted products. But your store owners here are doing their job. So what I'm getting at is, if you have a 96% compliance rate based on these sting operations, that means the source of underage tobacco and nicotine products, with the evidence about Lynn that you're looking at, it's not coming from the stores, but it's got to be coming from somewhere else. Amazon, other online retailers. Youth in other communities tell us they're using Amazon lockers at different grocery stores. They buy it online. They click I'm 18 and they get the product. That's how the youth are getting these products. The 96% compliance rate is an undisputed data point from the FDA. So what's a potential proposal to actually fix the problem? Why not bring alcohol and tobacco on the same playing field? Right now, you could have a 16-year-old across the street drinking a bottle of vodka. Police officer sees it, youth know. There are consequences. You cannot consume alcohol in public. But the same youth across the street knows that if he or she is holding a Marlboro cigarette, nothing can be done. They get it in their hands, there are no ramifications other than to their health. Why not equalize it? Why are we not doing that? Age-restricted flavored products, alcohol, tobacco, kids in your community need to know that there are consequences of using those products, but we don't have that here in Lynn. I want to next talk about harm reduction. You may know that I represent store owners in Somerville in a lawsuit against the Board of Health in Somerville where they passed a similar type of regulation restricting flavored tobacco products. Our expert in that case is Dr. Michael Siegel. He submitted written testimony to this board about a month ago, and this is the first time he's testifying on what I call this side of the aisle. He's an anti-tobacco advocate, has been one for over 30 years, and his position is that this type of ban will remove from all of your convenience store shelves the less harmful non-combustible products and just put back on the shelves the Marlboros and the Camels, because those won't be prevented from sale from a convenience store. It'll make it easier for the adults who are trying to quit using those flavored non-combustible e-cigarettes, for example, to just get back into buying the Marlboros and Camels, because that's what this type of ban will do. It will literally visualize it. All those flavored e-cigarettes gone, replace it with Marlboros and Camels. That's what Dr. Siegel talks about, and if you would like me to submit another copy of his testimony, more than happy to share that with you. The last point, your store owners, many of whom are here tonight. They've invested significant funds. They're the people that wake up every day. They're the gatekeepers. They're the first line of defense. When someone comes into the store, the evidence in Lynn is that they do their job. And we shouldn't punish them for doing their job. If they were the source of underage tobacco use, and if there was a 50 or 60% compliance rate, we'd have a different situation here, but we don't. And I want to close with some information. Actually, before that, your store owners will also consider remedial types of measures, perhaps limiting the number of jewel pods for sale per day per customer, putting the tobacco or other age-restricted products out of plain view for customers to see, so that when an adult comes in to make a purchase, they have to ask for it, then it comes out from storage so it's not visible. Things like that may make a difference to take away some arguments that are being made or that it normalizes them. There are other options out there. I invite you to speak with store owners and think about other opportunities to actually talk with them and even make things better here in Lynn. And last but not least, I'm going to close with the fact that the Health Advisory Council in Brookline, they just unanimously voted 6-0 against a similarly proposed tobacco regulation. Now, that doesn't close the issue there. They still have their town meeting because it's a different process. But their equivalent Board of Health voted unanimously against this type of ban. Why? Because they had a similar compliance rate, high compliance rate in light of FDA checks. And they said, well, if the store owners aren't their source, then how will that curb underage tobacco use? So I thank you for the time to speak. If you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer them. And I respectfully ask that you don't move forward with the ban tonight. Take further consideration. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I would like to present Dr. Siegel's, I received it in email, Dr. Siegel's written testimony.
Would you have any objection if I sat while I spoke?
No, not wrong.
Just change it up a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody else is right. All right, my name is John Scher. I'm the Executive Director of the New England Convenience Store and Energy Marketers Association. We're based in Stoughton, and we represent single-site convenience stores and chain convenience stores throughout the region, New England. Before I get into what I want to speak about, I just wanted to point out on the draft ordinance, specifically on the statement of purpose, I want to point out a couple things that I think are really important, and I'm doing this because I want you to have the best information to make this important decision, whichever way you decide to go. But when you look down at the references here, I circled the dates: 2012, 2010, 2006, 2011, 2013. That's old data. There is a lot is happening around this issue. Tobacco, e-vapor, a ton is happening. And there's one I want to draw your attention to specifically, and then I'll move on. And that is the third paragraph where it talks about the billions of dollars in marketing. And I hear this a lot, which is why I draw particular attention to it. But that reference is down to, if you look down, is 2006. I have no idea how much they spent in 2006. Maybe they did spend billions of dollars. They probably did. But the Tobacco Control Act of 2009 stripped out all of their ability to do that. You never see Joe Camel anymore. You don't see the Marlboro Man anymore. I mean, so it's really important to identify that, because it could sway you in a way that maybe isn't as factual as maybe it should be. So again, I encourage you to take a look at some of those references and how old that data is. All right. I'm going to speak of some facts here. Some of it you've heard from Adam. Fact, since 2018, Lynn retailers have a 96% compliance rate, 217 inspections, 8 violations according to FDA compliance data. The retailers are your tobacco control program. They're the folks that are in front of these customers, youth and adults, every day, restricting access only to adults. High schools, according to the New York National Youth Tobacco Survey, high school students reported using e-cigarettes the past 30 days, 20.8%. That's a problem. I mean, that's why we're here. The vapes are a problem, no question about it. And that's up from 1.5% in 2011. But in that same report, and you don't hear this as much as you maybe should, cigarettes are 8.1% in 2018 among high school students, down from 15.8%. Cigars, 7.6% in 2018, down from 11.6% in 2011. Smokeless tobacco, 5.9% among high school students in 2018, down from 7.9%. So we have an isolated issue here. It's e-vapor, e-cigarettes, whatever you want to call them, right? And the reason I want to point this out is because the flavor restriction you're looking at goes beyond e-cigarettes. It touches products that we refer to as OTP, other tobacco products, smokeless, cigars. It touches those products. If you, I'm sure you paid attention, but if you heard what I said, those products are falling. The youth using those products are falling. So if we're going to do something, whatever it is, let's make sure we isolate it to the problem. Recent actions that are worth mentioning: Juul, 75% of the market, pulled all their mint and tobacco flavors from brick and mortar stores, and Mass recently on January 1st, raised the age to 21. Let's give those initiatives a chance. Let's see what they've done. It's only been 4.5 months since Massachusetts raised the age. And I'll leave you with a proposal. If you really feel like you need to do something about e-cigarettes, perhaps you focus on the candy-flavored cigarettes. I mean, those egregious flavors. But we should really isolate it to what we think is the problem. The other thing, and Adam touched on this, are purchase, use, and possession laws, and he gave you a good example of the kid across the street, right? That's something that we can do to put to deter some of these youth from using these products. Right now, there are no consequences. I know how I handle my family. My kids, when they mess up, there are consequences. Last two things, and I'll finish. There is a gaping loophole that I hope, my guess is you're probably not aware of. This is a federal issue. I happened to just be in DC last week with a national organization. We talked about this with the Mass delegation. It's called the PACT Act, the PACT Act. And what it does is it regulates how online cigarettes and smokeless tobacco are sold. So when someone buys it online, it has to be delivered to a person. Among other things, it talks about collecting the proper taxes. It also talks about making sure you're verifying age. Guess what's not included in the PACT Act of 2010? E-cigarettes. Why? E-cigarettes probably weren't a thing in 2010. Certainly not to the extent that they are now. So what I was lobbying for in Washington was expanding the PACT Act, include e-cigarettes. They should be regulated by the PACT Act. I don't know how many other people are doing that. So again, I pointed out because we talk a lot about online. That is real. That's a gaping loophole that I hope gets closed this year. And the other thing I would ask that I just picked up on is the statistic that I heard about 74% of youth getting vapor products at retail stores. I would just ask that you ask to see that data, that the data source for that. That is the first time I've ever heard that number. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm not a good speaker. I might get nervous. I tried my best. I'm the owner of
Oh, just your name?
Raja Pratham. I'm the owner of EG Shop in North Variety. I do support to protect our young kids from tobacco products. But I'm speaking against the passing of the flavored tobacco ban in convenience stores but not in retail stores only.
Ashtrays, buckets, it's everywhere. Age, rollout of age. We already have 21 in the city of
Sorry,
Lynn.
Joyce,
Am I done?
Yeah, thank you. And with that, I'd like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
I'm looking for a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I want to make a motion. I want to hand the gavel to Mike. I want to make a motion that we review all the documents submitted and take all the testimony under advisement till the next month's meeting to make a vote. Anybody can speak on the motion?
Heard the motion, second.
You want to say, speak on the motion? Like, I just think we need to look at some of the letters, we need to look at some of the comments, and I don't think I'm educated enough tonight to vote this up or down. I would rather take it under advisement and actually vote on it on the next board meeting, which we can tell them when that is, and then more than welcome to come and listen to what we do, but we need some time to look at this. That's my opinion. So I'm offering that as a motion. If you agree with me, you can second the motion. If you want to speak on the motion to change it, I'm welcoming that.
You want to speak on that?
I second the motion.
Okay.
Motion's been seconded. All those in favor?
All those in favor? Aye. Just to understand, to explain to the people out there, you spent a lot of time and effort to come here tonight. We appreciate everybody from both sides of the fence. We need to hear your side more in depth. That's why we asked for your name on the sign-in list. We need to look at some of the letters. The letters come from constituents. We just need to look at the overall picture in a less rushed fashion than try to make a decision right now in 5 minutes. I don't think that's fair to either side. And that is the intent of my motion. With that being said, we welcome you all to come back. You can look at the Lynn item and tell you when the next Board of Health meeting is. Hear what we decide, why we decide it. You have something else on the agenda to deal with?
June 25th is the
June
next
25th.
Board of Health meeting, June
June
25th. It will be in this room, room 302 at 6:30 p.m., June 25th.
Just to speak on the motion again. The ordinance says draft. Does that mean we're going to change it? No, but it enables us to change it if we want to. We may have new ideas, we may have new avenues, we may have other ways to work with both parties. I don't know that to be true, I don't know it not to be true. But it does say draft in clear print on the first page, so it can be tweaked to either side's advantage. When you come to the June 25th meeting, it will be a final regulation. You'll know what we vote on, and you'll explain what we're doing. Okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much all for coming, for your time and effort. It means a great deal.
Can you do an adjournment? Do you want to?
Do you have any old business?
Do we have any old
Michelle?
business?
No old business? No new business?
New business.
How about the best motion? I'm looking for a motion to adjourn? Motion. Yeah. Second, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to withdraw?